Hi, everyone. This is Joe Newman, and welcome to the Beyond the Pages show, where we always do our best to try to capture your interest and curiosity with my special guests and topics. We enjoy bringing it to you here on CBRA Facebook page. Now I'm also on YouTube, got a YouTube channel, as well as I post these shows on my personal Facebook page. It's been a while since I've been able to interview any literary authors, which has always been really fun to do when I could do it. But today I'm finally around to doing that again instead of the business shows I was doing on the radio for a few years. I'm fortunate to have my special guest, award-winning author, Armand Rosamilia. He's from Jackson, Florida, and I understand a New Jersey boy in the beginning. Armand has written over 300 stories, books that are currently available, including supernatural thrillers, crime thrillers, horror, and something he calls, I'll have him explain maybe, cosmic horror, zombies, contemporary fiction, nonfiction, and more. His goal is to write a good story and not worry about genre labels. So what attracted me to getting Armand on here also is that he's a coffee lover, which I am, bourbon, which I am, and bourbon-flavored coffee, rum-based foods. I've listened to some of his podcasts, and he talks a lot about foods. I'm a foodie too. What else? Baseball, heavy metal, and the art of, above all, writing books. So let me welcome Armand onto the stage. Hey, Armand.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, other than a few technical difficulties. But
as always,
knock on wood, my wood table here. We won't have any more surprises here.
All right.
Hey, thanks for checking in this evening. I've been really looking forward to doing this meeting with you, this interview, finally getting this together. Before we jump in, let me introduce you to one of my Beyond the Pages regular guests who's been supporting me on this show since I restarted it after I spent a couple years on nonprofit radio around here. His name is Don McCauley. I call him D-Mac sometimes. Normally we have a couple Dons on these shows, but the other one is out of town tonight. And my buddy Casey, the stand-up comedian, I was hoping he would be here. He's a riot. He can't make it tonight because he's working. God bless him. Don, I'm adding you right now.
How you doing,
There's
guys?
my man D-Mac. I guess I'm leading off, and Don, you're batting second. Casey was going to bat third, and I was going to have Armand bat cleanup tonight. You know, no pressure, but he's... So at any rate, let me talk about Don a little bit, introduce you, Armand. He is a multimedia artist, cross-industrial creator designer with a lifelong career in the arts with a focus on design and fabrication of physical and digital assets. I've been in his what I call his laboratory a few times, and it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of things going on there. He's a graduate of Wrangling College in Sarasota, and he's been a teacher at times in his career. I think before you started your own business, Synthetic Ghost. He designs a wide variety of different kinds of environments. He's done some incredible things on the education level that is used in the classroom by teachers. A great deal of his artwork, this is Don's time of year. His artwork is what I call a walk through a haunted forest. So, and if you look behind him where he's sitting there, I don't know if you can bring that in, but I was thinking today when I was thinking about Armand that in Don that I says, boy, he could almost do book covers for you there.
Yeah.
and that's his thing. So I'll be looking for your next creation when I'm able to catch up with you, maybe in person. Hey, Armand, I wanted to, before we dig into your story and career and all the things you do, I wanted to start by saying there's something to say about being a person in our life who's able to do something for a living that's enjoyable and cliche-ish, but a labor of love. From everything I've been researching about you, I assume I'm correct that you are fortunate to fall into this group of people. I assume you love what you do, or at least like it. and you do it for a living. And what we've been going through in our previous shows here is that Don could attest to this too. I've had some guests on here who have done things in their career, maybe in the corporate world or something that they were doing for the money. And then they were able to finally get to where they wanted to be as far as doing a job, making a living, and actually liking it. So I assume I'm correct. Is that kind of where you're at right now?
Yeah. I basically, when anybody says like, what's the motivation for you to be a full-time, this would be my 14th year as a full-time author and able to live off of it. And I always say that it's the fear of going back to retail management. It's 20 years of hating every single day of my life, dealing with customers, dealing with people I worked with, dealing with upper management, all of that. And it's I always say to my wife, if you really hate me and you want to ever divorce me, just tell me to go back into retail management. I'll get the hint and I'll leave. Yeah.
And I checked out a couple podcasts, like I said, and your wife's name, I think her name is Shelley.
Shelley, yeah.
It was in watching her, she's got to be your biggest supporter was what I thought. But also, I kind of looked at her as like a real backbone to what you do. She seemed to me like she does multiple things, maybe editing, proofreading, what you do, giving you names for a character at times when you call her out of the blue. And she seems pretty straightforward. When I watched one of the interviews you did with her, she comes right out and says, I really like certain things you do. I don't like other things you do.
Yeah.
And I found her interesting from the aspect that when she goes to these conventions with you and you hobnob with other writers and things like that, it was kind of humorous to me a little bit because she was saying like, I met this person, I'm paraphrasing, I met this person, but didn't really like him that much, but I like his work, but it kind of changes her mind a little bit. But isn't that true in life? You get sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You get let down. I've had heroes I've talked to that wouldn't give me the time of day. I go, damn, I like them so much.
Yeah. Never meet your heroes, right? Never meet your heroes.
Yeah. But let me say this, that, when I was reading about you, and there's so many things that you've written over the years, I have to ask probably the cliche question right out of the gate here. We can build on it, but where the hell do you find the inspiration to keep things fresh and keep things moving forward?
It's as a writer, it's all around you. It's every conversation. It's every time we go to a restaurant and I eavesdrop on the conversations around us. I always say you want to find really good characters for horror books, go to Walmart, go wander around the aisles in Walmart. I mean, there's some strange people, and that's really what is. I mean, it's my wife is my first reader on most of my stuff, and I'll hear her in the other room laughing, and because she remembers a conversation or she remembers being in a specific place, and she'll be like, "Oh, this is the place where you got gumbo when we went to New Orleans last time." Like she knows the places, or she'll go, "Oh, that was that guy that you got into an argument with about whatever," or, "Oh, this is," so she's aware that I'm just taking stuff out of my past, or as things happen. If I actually leave the house, I'm having conversations with people, or I'm listening. We love to just sit and eavesdrop. We just love to just people watch. We'll do it for hours.
Well, my wife would get along good with you because she does it to the nth degree sometimes when I'm going like, stop. I'm at a concert. Quit looking at all these people around me. Watch the band up there. And she laughs. With over 300, I think it's over 300 stories that you published here.
Yeah.
And still writing, you seem to circle back to the supernatural crime thrillers, zombies. I saw in the Stark Lake book, you called it cosmic horror.
Right.
That little phrase in there or whatever. Is that kind of something new. I never heard of cosmic horror. Is that something
It
you
is
invented, or
H.P. Lovecraft. So it's 100 years old or so. The concept. Cosmic horror is basically what Lovecraft, wrote, and August Derleth and some Robert E. Howard and all the pulp fiction from the 20s and the 30s, and it's basically, the concept is it's horror, and the old ones, the gods, they don't give a crap about us at all, and they're basically they're here, and at some point Cthulhu is going to wake and he's going to destroy the world, and there's people who are looking forward to helping him do it.
Yeah. Now, Don, you sent me a text yesterday about that. You're a fan. I was kind of silly. I didn't. What's that? I wasn't. Heard you say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge fan. I've been a horror fan since as long as I can remember. But no, definitely a Lovecraft fan. And I love that shirt that you're wearing there, sir. No, I grew up reading it. So no, and then went through college and did tech studies and all kinds of wonderful things into the background of these amazing writers that frankly never got some of the credit that they deserved, like Lovecraft, unfortunately died penniless. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, but no, the influence of his work is hugely important in the horror scene.
Yeah.
Now, Armand, in a couple interviews, you were talking about Dean Koontz was kind of your inspiration, favorite, whatever. Just curious, did you ever meet him by chance, or?
No, I would love to. That's a bucket list person to meet. Growing up, my mother still is a huge Stephen King fan, and I guess to be a rebel at 12 years old, I started reading all over Dean Koontz paperbacks. And I still, to this day, as soon as he puts out a new book, I'm downloading it, I'm reading it, I'm buying a copy. And that's the inspiration. 12 years old, that was the inspiration for me to start writing horror stories.
Yeah, you said you read everything that he was coming out with when you were starting out. I found something interesting I picked up in one of the podcasts, I think it was, and I'm kind of like this too, that in the sense that in this case, I don't go back and read a book twice. I've read some fantastic books, but you have an exception. And that book, according to what I saw in the podcast, is Watership Down by Richard Adams. I looked it up a little bit, but that is the one book you said in interviews that you'll go back to sometimes, maybe years later, read it again. It's the only book that you've done that with in that interview that I saw. Now, let me ask, why is that book so special to you?
It's a classic. It's just a phenomenal book. If you've read it, if anybody I've ever met has read it, it's one of their favorite books. They did a cartoon years ago, and I think they did an updated one not too long ago. And it's just one of those books that you look and you go, oh, this is about, bunny rabbits fighting each other. This is going to be completely stupid. And when I was a teenager, I read that and I was like, this is the greatest thing I have ever read. It was just so far different from everything else that I had read. And so every 5 or 6 years, I just pull it off the shelf. I still have my original copy, that I had from, 1980 or whatever. And I'll just pull it out and I'll just read it again.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about writing technique. I hack at it sometimes myself. And that's why people like yourself I love talking to you guys, because I run into all kinds of things. I'll sit there, and I don't know if I'm just being dumb or not, but it'll take me forever, but about halfway forever to get names for characters, to shape that character in my mind to take he or she forward. Do you ever come across where you can't? And I say that because if this character is the main character in the story, he's going to be carried from start to finish, I really want to have a name that's appropriate to the way I think he looks, the way he's going to speak, his story, and all the things he's going to do. what about you? Is there, is there any, I saw something about you call up Shelly when you quickly need a name or something.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'll say, or I'll say, hey, all right, this guy has a dog. Give me a name for a dog, and she'll say Duke, and I say, okay, thanks, and I hang up on her. I mean, it's as simple as that. But I'm a fan of coming up with names, and again, when you've written so many stories, sometimes you're like, okay, how many times can I use Jeff or Ron or Don or Joe, whatever, and so it's really sometimes it's really hard to come up with those new names. So what I'll normally do is I'll watch baseball and I'll watch first names or last names, and then I might jot them down on a post-it note for later. And I have 12 post-it notes with just random names. And also, like, okay, I need a Russian bad guy. All right, let me pull up the NHL rosters and let's find something. It's a lot of that. A lot of times, saying the name out loud. In my first Coast Thriller series, the main character is Clayton Conway. So you have those hard consonants, but Clayton was my wife's grandfather, and Conway was her other grandfather. So I put the two together, and it's a good name, And so a lot of times I'll come up with those types of names, or a musician. I'll come up. I co-write some trilogies with another author, Tom Duffy, and he'll be reading my chapters, and then afterwards I'll go, okay, who was Pavano? Is it a musician? I'm like, no, it was he was a pitcher for the Red Sox back in the 80s, and he always laughs, and he'll come up with a name, and I'll go, okay, where'd you get Weston Lake? And he's like, Westlake, Donald Westlake, the author. I'm like, all right. So we kind of do, stuff like that, just to see if the other one will catch it. And it could be as simple as like, who's this bad guy? That's, Coco. I'm like, well, that was my ex-wife's first husband, so I used his nickname in this,
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are some good ideas when I struggle. One of these days I'm going to get that book done. I must have started it 10 times, but if we're talking technique just for a minute, because I'm trying to learn a little bit here too, is that I wanted to ask you, when you're going through, let's say it's a 10 chapter book or something like that, and you're at chapter 3. What I found was that I hit dead spots or pauses where a block, and I can't move forward. And what I did was reach for like a brand new character, bring another character into the story. And if you do that, do you outline strictly when you write a book, knowing what the characters are, what the chapters you have in mind going through? Or do you make up a lot of stuff on the way?
I'm a complete pantser. There's literally nothing. Like I can show, like this right here, this sheet of paper has a bunch of names on it. That's all it is just a bunch of names, so I get the names right. Everything else I'm writing in every story, there is no outline, there is nothing. But after doing this for 30 years, I can go, okay, I need 2.5 pages in a Word doc, and that's a chapter. And that's roughly, say, 1,300 words. And if I'm writing a crime thriller, it's 50 chapters. It's about 63,000 words. And I can pull that in at 63,014 words. Just because in my mind, I know the 3 breaks. I know all the beats. And I don't know what they are, but I know that there are things that have to happen. The cliche is, when you get to all those boring parts, just don't write the boring parts. Just write something good.
Oh, okay.
And if you get to a point where you're like, I have no idea what's coming next, who said it? I think Raymond Chandler said, introduce somebody with a gun.
That's great.